All right, number 10. Also from the Latin. So here we are on our Latin jag after equivocation. We move to ad hominem, from the Latin meaning to the man, which is now more commonly translated as to the person. It is argument that is directed to a person rather than to her argument. And that's a flaw. You want to mount an attack against an argument, you have to attack the argument on its merits, not on the character of the person making the argument. So for example, and usually it is that attack. You might have somebody say, Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Governator, wants to roll back some estate taxes, state estate taxes. And this is, before we even begin to consider this idea, remember that this man is a groper of women, and we can't take his tax proposals seriously. Okay, maybe he is, and there may be really good reasons for opposing the governor's rollback of estate taxes, but that's not one of them. And even if somebody's a hypocrite, I'm going to encourage my son to never start smoking cigarettes. And he's going to say, Dad, I know that you smoked for 15 years. You're such a hypocrite. I'd be like, you're right. But that doesn't make me wrong. And that's the thing. That just because a person has failed, even if that person's hypocritical in her beliefs or in her actions about an argument, it doesn't change the facts of the argument. You can't attack an argument on the basis of the character of the person making it. And we're used to using the ad hominem to talk about the attack. It can also be used as a flaw to support an argument. So back to Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's proposed doing some rollbacks of these California state estate taxes. And remember that as we begin to consider these issues, that this man is the star of such films as Terminator and Terminator 2 and Terminator 3, and so clearly we need to give some credence to his positions on these issues. And once again, there may be a real argument in favor of rolling back some of these estate taxes, but that's not it. You cannot attack a position based on the character of the person making the argument. You cannot defend a position based on the character or attributes of the person making the argument. To do so is argumentation to the person, argument to the man, ad hominem, and it's a flaw. You want to talk about his tax positions, talk about the tax positions. Don't talk about Arnold Schwarzenegger. Number 11, the absence of evidence flaw. And by absence of evidence, I mean something more than simply the lack of sufficient evidence to prove your point. What I mean is something a little more specific than that. The absence of evidence flaw is this. You attack an argument by indicating that there's not enough evidence to support it, and up to that point we're fine. You can do that. You can attack an argument and say, wait a minute, there's not enough evidence to support your position. It becomes an absence of evidence flaw when you conclude that the position is wrong because there's not enough evidence to support it. So, for example, nobody has yet proved that drinking battery acid in the form of a slushie is bad for you, and it's such a hot day, and I'm so thirsty, so I'm going to enjoy a nice tall glass of battery acid slushie. And it becomes a flaw of reasoning when I decide that because nobody's proved it's wrong, that it must be okay. And the way you're going to see this often played out on the test is that you'll see an argument that attacks a sampling flaw. So, for example, you'll say, Dave Hall attempted to conduct a study proving that watching Oprah makes you fat, but he neglected to consider the weight of the participants prior to the study. Therefore, and if the argument stops there, we've got an okay argument. We can stop there and say, therefore his study was flawed and we can make no conclusion. That would be good. That would attack the sampling error. That would be good. It becomes an absence of evidence flaw, however, if I finish it by saying, therefore, watching Oprah doesn't make you fat. I can't conclude that. The lack of evidence, the absence of evidence, is just that. It's an absence. It is not evidence of anything. So when I point out that the studies were flawed, that points out there's an absence of evidence in favor of the position. That doesn't mean it's evidence against the position. To say it cute, absence of evidence does not constitute evidence of absence. That's the absence of evidence flaw. It's the assumption that a lack of evidence that a thing is bad means that the thing is good, or vice versa.